from MTA studio in Maple. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I welcome you to Canadian Horizon from MTA Studio Canada. Today we are fortunate to have a very honorable guest who has been living in Canada for half a century, and he is from a very remote part of Canada. His name is Dr. Khalifa Abdul Momin Sahab. Dr. Sahab, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I welcome you to MTU Studio Canada, and we are very pleased and honored to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me too.
Dr. Sahab, you came here about a half a century ago, and to be accurate, it is 46 years, right, in Canada. How do you feel now after living 46 years here in Canada?
I came in 1960 in Saskatchewan, Regina. As you know, that how big Saskatchewan is. So I was fascinated with the flatness and the wheat fields and the people. And somehow doing a junior internship in those days was a very rough, tough job.
Yeah.
And a year passed very quick. And then I did a little bit of obstetric gynecology residency and joined the Saskatchewan government. Till that time in Canada, there was no word of socialized medicine. So I was very much impressed at that time with a Canadian leader whose name is Tommy Douglas. And he introduced this thing in Saskatchewan, and I was with the government. And I thought it was great challenge when in Saskatchewan, 99.9% of the doctors went to strike, and I was the only one in that our medical association who voted for the socialized medicine with the government.
MashaAllah.
The reason for doing that was because right from the childhood I was taught that strike is not allowed in Ahmadiyya system.
Exactly.
On that basis, I did not
participate
into that big thing. Somehow, that was a very historical thing in North America, and ultimately, after Tommy Douglas introduced this bill, the Saskatchewan, or the Medical Association of Saskatchewan, went to strike, and majority of the doctors left from there to America, and this, but the Saskatchewan government did not give in.
Right.
Now, answer to your question, how I feel, every meeting in the Canadian Medical Associations for last 35 years, I have been raising hand and I say, look, what is the big issue at this moment in Canada? And that is healthcare system. Although there are a lot of defects, that's one of the things which kept me in Canada right from the beginning, a big challenge, and happened to be at that time there was no NDP, but it was CCF at that time. But in the political system, it was very challenging, but very dignified. But a very important thing which touched me is me coming from Pakistan as a junior intern, going into the House of Legislation in Regina, because my friend invited me for a lunch. And when I stood in that kitchen with the tray line, and who was next to me was the Tommy Douglas. And he says, Doctor, where are you from? And I say, I'm coming from Pakistan. Oh, I hope you will enjoy. Now, can you imagine a person coming from there? The other thing is the equality.
Yes.
You could never believe a janitor and a premier and an ordinary person standing in the same line having that. So there were a lot of good points, but there were other few points which we differ.
Right.
So all that thing.
Doctor, when did you graduate?
I graduated in 1958 from King Edward Medical College, Lahore.
Okay. So after 2 years of graduation, you moved to Canada.
Yes.
What made you to make this decision?
I came after that to Karachi, and we built the Fazl Umar Charitable Dispensary. And it was a great pleasure for me to treat or give advice to people like Sir Zafrullah Khan and Abdul Salam, because they were very happy to visit Fazl Umar's Charitable Dispensary and the stories. But ultimately, my cousin sister, she came to visit Saskatchewan. Her husband was a sectional manager officer. So I say, I will come to Canada for 1 year. So she got me a junior internship in Regina Journal. After that, I changed my mind and I stayed.
MashaAllah. Dr. Sahab, you will be pleased to know that this dispensary that you established so many years back is still functioning and is still very busy. And I am fortunate that I have worked there in that dispensary and in the Golimar dispensary. And at that time, we were seeing about 100 patients a day. So the seed that you sowed has become a flower, blossoming flower now. So,
I should shake hands with you. I knew that when I left the Golimar dispensary and this Martin Road, they used to see quite a few. But one of the reasons for leaving Pakistan was that on Martin Road, around that, there were a lot of colonies.
yes.
Indian, lot of colonies. And you must have seen, when the Quetta wave came, next morning you will see about 20 babies with pneumonia. Because in that, plus there were a lot of people who are in a frank congestive failure and they could not afford a small digitalis or digoxin.
Right.
But we became very important. After me, you must have dealt. The World Health Organization and the other people used to
Yes.
give all kinds of aid through
Yes.
us.
Yes.
But when I came to Canada, I kept in touch with all those things.
MashaAllah. So you graduated from the top college in Pakistan and then you came to Canada and did your internship. Did you feel a big difference at that time from the medical system in Pakistan and the quality of medical education and your internship? Did you face any difficulties at that time?
Not at all. I did not feel it, but I felt very important because with me there were 200 interns in Regina Journal, and they were from Syria, Kuwait, Iran, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Haiti.
None from Pakistan.
No, there were many.
Oh.
But all these people did not speak English.
Oh.
They were French speaking. I was this English speaking and very vocal. So automatically all these Indian and Pakistani, they were little shy. But I became their sort of, in any case, I was without strike, without anything. But the thing is that made me different. Plus the system here is, in back home, to the professor, every second word is sir.
Sir,
Sir.
yes.
Here I come and here is a professor of medicine, Charles,
Yeah.
and I say, sir. He said, don't call me sir. Just call me Charlie. Oh my God. So it was a cultural difference, whatever the system is. Number two, we sit in the conference, we put our feet on the table for 2 hours, listen to all these things. Nobody say anything. But the respect, the teacher and the student, we were interns, but that was great. Moreover, this freedom
Right.
to learn the knowledge.
Now, most immigrants choose to live in Ontario, in Toronto, because of multiculturalism, because of the airports, because government offices are closed. You did your internship in Saskatchewan, then you chose again another province which is quite far flung, Nova Scotia. It's very beautiful, there's natural beauty. It's a very nice place to live, but it's quite a distance from the main hub in Canada. What was the reasons that made you choose that place?
The reason is that in those days there were very few Indian Pakistanis in this, although there were quite a few doctors who were in America. But the first symptom in the family from India, Pakistan comes, you could very easily recognize, label them as depression. And I always told them, please give 1 year, you are going through this. The bigger the city, the more the depression. The more rural areas, everybody. After the Regina, I went to Montreal for 4 years, internal medicine.
Right.
But the French people were very different than the English speaking. In those days, it was a big separatist movement.
Yes.
And English, and as long as I was in West,
Yeah.
they say East. But that was a difference.
Yes.
But I felt very comfortable in Montreal.
Yes.
After that, when I went to practice there, I went to in that remote area only for 3 months. It is only 40 years now.
Yes.
The reason is the people were very nice. They were not exposed to the New York or Montreal type. So that made me very comfortable.
MashaAllah. That's good. So now I understand that you lived there alone, like the only Ahmadi in Nova Scotia for a long time, and then slowly and gradually Ahmadi doctors started coming to Nova Scotia. Now, mashallah, we have a good number of Ahmadi doctors and their families living in Nova Scotia. So now how do you feel? There is a big difference now from 46 years, of 30, 40 years back, and now. How is you feeling now?
The only feeling difference is that for 35 years, my family, which is all mostly in Toronto, and they say, move to Toronto, move to Toronto. I come here, every person tells me, move to Toronto. And I say, please don't ask me, because I know there are 40 doctors here who are not practicing. And the only thing I can come here and I can drive taxi or sell pizzas. Please let me live there and there. So ultimately I thought, after little retiring from that I should get doctors. So even today another doctor is going to Sydney.
MashaAllah.
So I have pulled about 10 doctors there. And inshallah you will see that Cape Breton Island will be the first Ahmadiyya island in the world, because at this time the maximum doctors in any town per capita, let's say if it is 120,000 people, the maximum Ahmadi doctors are there nowhere else in the world.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. I am pleased to tell viewers that Dr. Khalifa Abdul Momin Sahab is from a very well-known religious family. His grandfather Khalifa Nuruddin Jamuni Sahab is known in the Ahmadiyya history. His father Khalifa Abdul Rahim Sahab, he was in Quetta before?
In Kashmir.
Kashmir before. And your youngest brother Khalifa Abdul Aziz Sahab, who is our Naib Amir in Canada, is well known in Jamaat and internationally. So mashallah, you have got a very dedicated family who is serving Islam and Ahmadiyya throughout their life. And mashallah, you have taken this initiative in Nova Scotia to build the first mission in that area,
in Sydney.
And I'm sure that this will be the first step in growth of the Jamaat in that area. Mashallah, you were alone there, and now you have 10 doctors plus other people. So do you look forward to having a big community in near future?
Definitely, because at this time there is a tremendous change going on in Canada. Because most of the people from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, even in Ontario, are moving to Alberta. And there is a tremendous gap there, and they are looking. So we are working. Actually, we are not working thinking small. We are thinking about at least 100 families. And we are working, whether we get from Bangladesh or whether we come from Indonesia, but that's the purpose. But I am very happy